Hey, this is Professor G, our last video for week one, pass-through entities. To review very quickly though, we left off with C corporations and double taxation. Talked about how S corporations do not have double taxation, and how is that? Again, C corporations, biggest tax advantage is that they are taxed twice, once at the corporate level, once at the shareholder level. And what you need to consider is that at the corporate level, the profits are taxed at 21%. Okay, 21% corporate federal tax rate. And then the individual could be anywhere from, well, if they're investing in stock, they're probably not poor. So they could very easily be from 24 to 37%. So that's double taxation. The advantage of the S corporation is it avoids the 21%, and you only pay tax once on the shareholder rate. The downside to S corporations. So what I've described to you is very positive. You have a corporation, you have limited liability with an S corporation, and you avoid the corporate income tax. So what's the catch? The catch, one of them is that you are limited to just 100 shareholders. So you cannot be Ford, Tesla, Microsoft, Apple, and be a subchapter S corporation. Okay. And then all of the shareholders must be U.S. citizens or resident aliens. And S corporations can only have one class of stock. You cannot have what are called A and B shares. I'll talk about that later in the semester. You can have voting and non-voting. Those are the same class of stock, regular stock, with a difference in terms of voting rights. So if I am a young entrepreneur and I have a startup, it's doing okay, and I need $100,000, $200,000 of investment, I can actually give that shareholder, that investor, stock, but I don't want them to have a say in the day-to-day operation. So I can go to them and say, look, in exchange for $100,000 cash investment, I will give you 10,000 shares of stock. However, it will come with no voting rights. They don't care typically because they don't want to be involved in decision making. They just want something that represents the value of their investment, which is the stock. So very often, once you're beyond the initial idea phase and you're looking more attractive to investors, we go next to a subchapter S and offer out that stock as non-voting shares. Next type of pass-through entity, all of you have heard of a limited liability company or an LLC. Okay, an LLC combines the pass-through protection. So if I form a limited liability company, my personal assets are not at risk without the corporate taxation complexity. You can have just one person in an LLC or any number. There are two types. There's a single member LLC, okay, one owner. Multi-member LLC is more than one, and it's unlimited on the top end. Here are some benefits of an LLC. Again, personal protection. My personal assets are not exposed to liability. Single layer of taxation. Super easy, costs $50 to form this in the state of Michigan. Not a lot of paperwork. If you are a single member LLC, you do not file a separate tax return. Very easy to manage the entity, not a lot of formal paperwork. And it gives you immediate credibility because you now have a separate business entity as opposed to Professor G's lawn mowing. It could be something else like Superior Lawn Mowing LLC. When we get to the members, key thing here, the owners of an LLC are called members, not shareholders. LLCs do not issue stock. You own a percentage of an LLC. Single member LLC, one owner. I, Professor G, own 100%. Let's say there's two of us. Now we each own 50% of the stock, and so forth. So member is the owner. You can have the members manage it, or you can have professional managers. Okay. Now, let's jump over to how you form an LLC. LegalZoom is brilliant. LegalZoom essentially charges you to access this free online system through the state of Michigan. LARA, which is LARA, Corporation's Online Filing System, COFS. So click on this. You click Articles of Organization. That is the document that creates an LLC. The form is free. There is a $50 filing fee, and you pay that with LegalZoom. But LegalZoom charges you another $100 plus just to access that form. So great business for LegalZoom. Terms of art for LLCs: single member LLC, one owner; multi, two or more; member managed. Me and my college roommate start an LLC, and I'm going to be the manager. So I am a member and a manager. Manager managed LLC, you'll hear that. That is where you are successful enough now that you actually hire a full-time manager. Membership interest is always by percentage. So 100%, and then you start carving it up. No stock. Selecting an LLC, it's a bad choice when you're ready to start soliciting venture capital. They don't want it. Let me explain this. So initially, LLC is a great place to start. It's flexible, easy to maintain, but when you start needing big dollars in terms of investment, the investors are going to want stock in exchange for their cash investment. And at that time, you can go from an LLC to a C Corp. You can always move up. And that's what they're going to want. Partnerships, not a big fan of partnerships. Partnerships, general rule, if you just start a partnership, two people in business, you select a business name, it's got to file a tax return. It is a legal entity, a partnership. But the owners are still exposed to liability. Okay. 3 types of partnerships: general, limited partnership, LLP, limited liability partnership. How are they different? A general partnership, all the partners are fully exposed to liability. So just leave it at that. Don't like this type of partnership at all, because why even do it? Why take the steps to form a partnership where you're still exposed to liability? Why not just form a multi-member LLC where you are shielded from personal liability? We get to a limited partnership. This isn't too bad. This is where there's 2 people, 3, 4 people in a partnership. One of them is just, Professor G's father, and he is investing in the business. He wants nothing to do with it other than his investment, return on investment. So he wants to be protected from liability. And so we can call him, an investor, a limited partner. So he is protected from personal liability. He can have no say in the day-to-day operations of the partnership, but he could lose his investment if things go south. Limited liability partnership. I'm not going to go into details. I am a lawyer. There are laws that restrict lawyers, doctors, CPAs from protecting themselves from personal liability. I know that's crazy, but so I, Professor G, can form a corporation, but I cannot protect myself from my own negligence, malpractice, etc. I'm always exposed. And so LLPs are generally reserved for medical and legal professionals. Partnership agreements, you got to have one. Whenever you have more than one person engaged in business together, you got to have an agreement. Think about what happens, who's making decisions, who has authority to do X, and what happens if you break up. So think of a partnership as that. Now, taxation of partnerships. The partnership pays no tax. It is a pass-through entity. The profit and loss will go to the shareholder or the partners based on the amount of the company that they own, the percentage, that they own. And so if they own 50% of the company, they get 50% of the profit. Or if there's a loss, they can deduct half of the, 50% of the loss on their tax return. Same with an S corporation. They're both taxed. Partnerships are not a great source of investor capital. They're not attractive. Generally, the capital to start a partnership would come from the partners themselves, and maybe funds loaned by partners or outsiders to the business. So infusions of capital from those who are very close. Um, Venture capitalists generally aren't looking at partnerships as being something viable or attractive. If you formed one and the company's doing well, they'll counsel you on how to create a more attractive business entity. Thank you.